Hey guys, in this video, as promised, we're going to show you the durability upgrades for the Xmaxx. Now this one's Rob's, and he went and got all the parts in that are necessary, and this is what we at the channel recommend to make this a tough rig. We don't change any of the running gears, so we keep the stock motor, speed control, and servo as long as those items work. But the durability upgrades are necessary. And quickly to go over it, we're going to put the RPM arms and the captured hinge pins in. We're going to change out to the RPM hub carriers. We're going to change to the HR steering linkages. And then we've got some body upgrades. We've got a roof rack that's supposed to help with the durability. It goes right on the top of the car here. And then Rob will be up and running, and we can get these things out and run them side by side. So let's get the build underway. Check this out. Alright, so let's go ahead and get the tires off this thing, and we're going to try and keep all of the chatter down to a minimum, just kind of go over things as they sort of pop up here. So I'll get a little suspension test there. And let's have a look at this and see where we want to start. We'll go ahead and do the teardown on this one. Pretty straightforward here, guys. There you go, there's the arm. Let's go ahead and get that drive shaft out of there. Beautiful. Okay, now we're going to have to get the wheelie bar arm out of the way so we can access this screw on the back side here. There we go. And this will allow us to get the top arm off. Nice. These are what we're going to replace it with. And there's the set right there. Okay, so there's retention screws here, so we need to get those in place. Because on the bulkhead side, we're not going to change out the pins. We're only going to do that on the opposite side. These are the pins we're going to use. And they should go straight through, but we're going to have to drill this out right here. And there is an instruction kit in there to show you how to do that, but here we go. Just like that, and it should fit in there just like this now, so you can get your nut on the end. See there? So let's get that in place now. Put the stock pin back in it, because this is the bulkhead side. We're going to use the stock pins. There we go. The little cap can be stubborn. Just like so. And always tighten stuff by hands, guys. And we'll do the other arm. Get it cleared out. Make sure everything fits. And of course we need that retention screw again. And we'll get that back in. Get the shock reconnected. And screwing into plastic here, guys, we always go nice and slow. I know this is sped up, so it looks like we're going fast with the screw gun, but we're not. So let's go ahead and change out the hub here. This hub carrier is the stock one, and it's kind of brittle. If you take a look at it here, and we'll get the other one up next to it, we're going to use the RPMs to replace them. These ones come with new bearings that are sealed, and look at the build on that. See there? See how it's all vented in on the other one? That makes it weak. These solid ones are way stronger. Get rid of that. Use the provided bearing, like so. And simple reassembly. And these little clips can be a little difficult, but they do go. Just like that. Now we can go ahead and get it into the drive cup and assemble it to the arm here. Now some light taps may be necessary just to get it through, because the drill bit that we used is just a skosh smaller than you need, just to keep everything nice and snug on that end. It will swivel right at the hub carrier, so that's not a big deal. But a little tapping is not a problem here. It'll help get things through. I'm not hitting it hard either. It's just light taps. Just like that. Now we want to reattach the wheelie bar arm here, and that completes that corner of the build. Okay, on this one, we're just going to let you watch. There won't be any chatter for this section. Moving on to the front, let's go ahead and get things disassembled. And there's quite a few more screws on this as well up front because of the extra components needed to make the thing turn. Okay, this is the hard way. I'm showing you this as a demonstration. There is a much easier way, and we'll show you that shortly. Let's go ahead and get that arm out of the way. And let's pull this apart. Drive axle out. There we go. And notice the arms are the same. Okay, let's get the retention screws out. There we go. And we'll do the same thing for the bottom arm. Now, on this, we're going to go ahead and get this assembled, but we're going to do something different on this than it shows in the instructions. Let's get that arm in. And we'll get the base arm on. Like so. And the retention screws. Nice. Let's get that shock absorber mounted. And the retention screw. There we go. Now, we're going to go ahead and drill this out as it shows in the instructions, but on the top arm here, we're going to drill it as well. This is not following the instructions doing it that way, but we have a test we want to do with this. There we go. Now this is only in temporarily. We will make an adjustment here shortly. Alright, let's go ahead and build the axle. And notice the difference between the two. The RPM one is much more stout. There we go, just like that. Everything's rolling nice and smooth. Let's get it installed. There we go. Now, this is where our clearance issue is. That arm will make contact with the shaft. We'll have to make an adjustment. This is still the hard way here, just for demonstration. So see how hard that is? But have a look right there, there's a vent port. And here's what it's for. Go right through there with your screwdriver, it lines it right up for you. Nice and easy. And if you don't know that's there, you may not know what that's for. So, in order to combat that, we countersunk that in a little bit to give clearance. And you'll see what I mean here in a second. So now when you turn it, it clears. And with it sticking out, it doesn't. So that requires a countersink, and we'll show you how to do that shortly. This segment here is just like the other side. So we're going to go ahead and let this run without actually chattering through this. When we get to the upgrade components, we'll show you what's up. All right, so we're going to do this mod again, and this time we're going to show you exactly how this countersink is done. And this is kind of an advanced deal here. If you're not good with a screw gun or a drill and you have issues with this, I don't know that I'd recommend doing this, but if this is something you're interested in, here's how you do this. Now you put the original shaft through and you get a set of vice grips set, and the idea is we want to push this out flush like so and get it right to the edge. Okay, so that shaft is sitting there. This is the gap that you need to have so that the drill only goes in so far. So that being set at the same distance, now you can push the vice grips over, and that'll leave the gap on the other side, which should allow that to countersink. Also, the drill has a tendency to grab that plastic, so you want to have that in there as a stop so it only goes so deep. So now that that's done, the head should countersink in there just right. Let's get our assembly together and we'll give it a test. Here we go. And it needs to go through backwards on this one, and it'll thread right in. See the countersink? That's how that's done. But on top of that, when you go to put that together, you're going to need a couple of spacers on the opposite side. I just happen to have a couple of plastic washers for each side that are the right size. It doesn't really matter, plastic, metal, whatever washers will take up the space is what you need. Get the appropriate sized washers and it'll take it up and it'll keep that shaft from backing off. So this is necessary if you're going to do this mod. There we go, just like that. Now when you put it together, since it's countersunk, the arm will no longer make contact with that and the steering will function properly. There we go. Let's get that new steering link in there. And of course, don't forget the easy way, guys. This is how you're supposed to do it. Nice. And see the clearance now? That countersink, if you're going to use the locking hinge pins, that countersink is necessary. So let's go ahead and get it put back together. That done, let's install the skid for the body. Now there's 4 spots here on the framework that have holes in them, and you're going to need to line it up with these. So that'll make it a lot easier to line up. You want to drill through the rack first, and just small holes is all you need just to show us the location. Then we'll take off the rack completely because we don't want to damage that. So let's back out all the screws. Just like so. There's 2 more in the back here. And that whole thing will come loose. And that should fish straight out, just like so. Now, we want to pick an appropriate drill bit size that will allow those to pull through the body. So you need to have one that's big enough for those stubs to go through. So let's go ahead and port those holes out. Get a little better view for you here. There we go. And if you have a body reamer, and I have one right here, you can clean up all your mess here. The drill bit's not all that clean. Generally they don't tear through the body, so that's not a big deal, but just a little cleanup so that it goes on nice and neat. Sometimes you get those tendrils that get in the way. There we go. And it should fit right on. Make sure it goes through the body. like so. Now I'll put the rack back in it. And we'll go ahead and get our screws in. And these came with the kit, so that's pretty nice. Just run them in, make sure they're all tightened down good. And you're still into plastic, so don't overdo it here. Connect the framework back to the body. There we go. Then the two in the back, we want to get that, but make sure you snug everything down first. Get those lined up and run them on in. Now, always nice and slow with the screw gun, guys. There we go. Just like that. Okay guys, there's the build for the Traxxas Xmaxx for durability. You know, I really like this RPM stuff. It's really tough. It holds up better than the ones I've had from the factory. And of course, that would be these. And you know, I've broken several of these and it usually winds up failing right out here at the end where they're kind of thin. And these are a little bit brittle, especially when it gets cold out. These things get kind of brittle. These, on the other hand, and the color doesn't really matter all that much. You can get blue, black, whatever. But these are a lot more limber and they hold up better. And these captured hinge pins, a really nice feature. Now, the way these are supposed to work is you got a captured hinge pin at the bottom. You use the stock hinge pin up top here, and that allows for clearance back here. But we wanted ultimate durability, so we put the captured ones up top too, but that does require modification of the arm and more than just drilling it through. If you don't actually countersink that in, then it hits the steering knuckle. So everything binds right up in here as it turns. So as you turn it, it will actually make contact there. So you have to countersink that in. And guys, that's a bit of a pro modder kind of trick. If you're not careful, the drill will pull right through and just destroy the arm altogether. So you have to really know how to do that. And when you push that rod in and flush it, and this is the original rod end right there, when you push that in and flush it out, you figure how big your head is and give yourself some spacing and clamp a vice grip on it. Okay, once you get the vice grip set, you can slide it back and it'll make contact with the back of the arm. And what I mean by that is, let's say you're going to drill this portion here. If you set your vice grips here, when you move it back, it'll counter in on this end, and then when you drill in, that will stop it from going too deep. And that's a really important thing. If you're not all that sharp with a drill, I don't recommend doing that. I recommend staying with the stock pins there. They do work just fine on the upper arms, but we wanted to see what these ones would do all the way around. So that's what we went with there. We were gonna go ahead and try and put some of these on there, and these are basically RPM's version of this top plate. So these would normally go right there as a skid. And we really wanted to put these on the bed. However, these are pretty flat. Okay, so they don't arch much and they're really rigid. I mean, you can bend them, but they would pull against the body. The area we wanted to put them has a curve to it, so it would have countered, it would have pulled up against it, and I'm not a fan of that. I think you'd wind up having problems with this tearing the body on its own, so I opted not to put those on. Okay, so one thing I'd like to touch on really quickly is out here, we've got the RPM Outdrive on the front, and it articulates inside of a cup. And this is the piece that actually attaches to the hinge pins, and that's still stock Traxxas. So we did keep that part stock. On mine, we went ahead and swapped that out to aluminum right here and put the RPM stuff on the outside. But I've never had one of those fail, so that's kind of a neat deal there. Also, right behind this, we've got the hot racing, the steering linkage. These are the linkages that go from the bell cranks out to the arms themselves. We changed that over to aluminum, and it made a hell of a difference as far as durability. I've broken 3 of those on my car already, and once we switched over to aluminum, we no longer had that problem. That being said, you know, I hope you enjoyed the video. This was a fun build to do, and these are just some inexpensive durability upgrades that we recommend. And just a quick run over it, We swapped out the arms to the RPM arms. We've got the hot racing steroid and linkages in there, and we've got the RPM Outdrive carriers with the enhanced bearings on the inside. And that's what we've done to the orange one up there, and it holds up really nicely, and we're not at all nice to that one. So hopefully Rob's won't suffer the fate of so many others where they have problems that plague the car from the beginning. Some people have servo problems, some people have speed control problems. Hopefully this holds up just fine, and we'll see just exactly how tough this car is in the future. So if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. It's awesome when you do, and it lets us know if we're going in the right direction here with the channel. You know, we really do enjoy this kind of thing, and I know you've heard us say that before, but building these kind of cars, it really is cool. You get to think your way around corners and do stuff perhaps no one's done before. We're not saying that's what happened with this one, but at the same time, this is our suggestion for average durability upgrades. You know, we've pushed this particular upgrade set quite a ways, and it's made a hell of a difference on the orange one up there. So hopefully Rob will have the same enjoyment out of his. So we know you guys have done this kind of thing, and if you've got upgrades that are really cool, please feel free to leave it in the comments down below and help others along the way. Hey guys, I'm AJ with AJ Jam Studio saying, keep wrenching, guys.